Okay, good morning, committee members and other parties of interest. This oral presentation for RPS 25-00379, architectural/engineering services for the CDBG/DR single-family housing repair and replacement program is being held in part by means of communications media technology. Active participation will be for committee members and presenting firms only. A recording of the meeting will be made available to the public and all other interested parties. Please be advised that the cone of silence is still in effect. All meetings and correspondence must include me. My name is Ethan Kersey, and I'm the buyer for this project. Again, for the record, this meeting is being recorded and will be posted online at a future date. At this time, I will ask each committee member to introduce themselves for the record, beginning with the committee chair.
Hi, my name is Cheryl Howell, Assistant County Administrator, Committee Chair for this RFP.
Good morning, I'm Brenda Vallecilla, Managing Director of Affordable Housing here at the county.
I'm Rob Parkinson with the Management and Budget Department. I'm over the Criminal Justice and Grants Management Office.
John Muller, Director for Facilities and Real Estate, Hillsborough County.
Kim Rogers, I'm the engineers with the Water Resources Department.
Sarah Williams, Architectural Services Manager, Capital Programs.
Nicole Gelber, Compliance and Monitoring Manager at Affordable Housing.
Thank you. Presenters, if you would, please introduce yourself for the record the first time you speak today as well. Our presenters will have a total of 30 minutes, 15 minutes for presentation, and 15 minutes for Q&A. The committee is advised that they may ask clarifying questions regarding any information provided in the firm's written proposal or that the firm brings up during today's oral presentation and interview. I will be timing your presentation and will signal to you when there are 2 minutes remaining. Immediately following the presentation, we will move on to the Q&A portion where I will also track your time and provide a 2-minute warning. I will start your time once you begin speaking, and Beryl Project Engineering, you are free to go.
Hi, my name is Leo Cannon. I'm the Principal Project Manager with Beryl Project Engineering, licensed professional engineer, standard roofing inspector, mold assessor, mold remediator, and home inspector. I have with me today from Tampa Design Group, Lee Curtis. He's a professional architect. If you can introduce yourself very briefly.
Yeah, my name is Lee Curtis. I'm with the Tampa Bay Design Group, and we are registered architects in Palm Harbor, Florida.
So he's our architect partner, because I know some of the questions revolved around with the architect. A little bit more background about myself is I have been the state liaison for the My Safe Florida Home Program, the Florida Elevate Program, through Tallahassee Community College, the SERP program that dealt with mobile homes. And lastly, I was the Broward County and City of Pembroke Pines liaison for the SHIP/CDBG housing improvement services that Beryl Project Engineering did between 2015 and 2019, which is direct experience in this program. Additionally, our firm is filled with 203K consultants and FHA HUD inspectors, which are also directly related to this program, in that many of the procedures we use for the 203K process are directly relevant following HUD Handbook 4000.1 for the minimum property standards, which are used to renovate single-family homes in a CDBG program to bring them up to minimum property. What I thought was best for today is we pulled 24 questions out of the presentations for the selection committee meeting, and basically just to run through those questions. These were the direct questions asked, no fluff in our presentation, basically going to run through these 24 questions to see how many we get through. And then if in these 15 minutes and any further explanations that need to be done in the next 15. First one, what is Beryl's direct role in federally funding housing programs, and how does that differ from a support or advisory role? Our direct role in these federally funded programs, for My Safe Florida Home, we were on the inspection side, both before, during, and after the construction of the house to make it more home hardened for wind mitigation purposes and for insurance discounts. Different from a support or advisory role in that we were directly inspecting the houses. With SERP, we were directly inspecting the mobile homes, both before and after the mobile home installers harden those homes with extra straps. Additionally, with the CDBG/SHIP program, we would go to the site beforehand, meet with the homeowner, come up with a scope of work, then meet with a contractor in a pre-bid meeting, so several contractors, and then we would show up periodically for what are known as draw inspections to make sure the work is happening according to the construction plans. It is a support role in that we're directly involved in the creation of documents, walking through the homeowner from an education standpoint, making sure everything's compliant. How do we distinguish ourselves from FEMA funded experience from insurance-based programs? My Safe Florida Home was basically around insurance discounts, while the FEMA is about allowing people to live in a destroyed home that needs to meet floodplain requirements. We don't really differentiate the two. In both cases, we're inspecting a home to make sure that the home can be livable, meet minimum standards, and have upgrades to help it from being destroyed in the future. So in a way, that global aspect covers both. Who is accountable for compliance, documentation, and reporting under federal oversight? Ultimately, all the stakeholders are involved in compliance. We handle the documentation and reporting. We have a quality assurance, quality control program, but ultimately compliance comes from the IA, if there is one, or Inspector General, any other documents that would need to be reviewed by the actual team that is part of Hillsborough County or at the state level. So compliance is all around, and we make sure that we have the correct documentation and reporting that when it comes time for compliance checks that we're meeting those requirements. Schedule and budget. How do we manage schedule and budget across long-term task order-based CDBG programs? That's simple. We treat each individual assignment as its own assignment. I'm a project management professional from the Project Management Institute. We treat each project, each house as a separate project. It gets tracked for schedule, scope, and budget. We do many CPM type schedules, critical path methodology schedules. We track the budget. There will be established budgets from the contractor. We make sure they're hitting their milestones. We periodically check their work to make sure they're meeting the schedule and the scope. And no one gets access to any of the budget funds until we've approved work and then the Hillsborough County has approved it. So we know there are several approvals that need to be done when it comes to the budget. What controls are in place when inspections uncover scope changes for additional work? There is a change order process, and while we would like to say it will never be utilized, normally on these types of programs, there's a 10% contingency built into the scope price. And the contractor, if they uncover certain aspects while tearing into work, they discover more termite rot work or additional code required changes. I know we're going to be undergoing a code change at the end of this year. Those could all potentially tap into the change order. The change order needs to be typed up, needs to be approved by the homeowner, the contractor, needs to be reviewed by us, and ultimately approved by the county. So there's a lot of controls in place already built into forms that will be used to track and uncover the scope changes for additional work. How do we prevent delays or cost impacts from redesign, rework, and handoffs? It's simple. It's a system. It's a process. We follow the system. We follow the process. HUD Handbook 4000.1 is very specific on how that process looks. It's all outlined. Contracts are handled between the contractor, homeowner, the city. We're just there to make sure that what's there for scope is being enforced. And we prevent the delays by just making sure that there's active communication and there's no surprises. Up next, the delivery approach. How does our delivery approach address the scale, duration, and complexity of a program? We've handled programs such as 50 through SERP, SERP. We've handled 35 per year for to do Pembroke Pines for the SHIP program, but we've scaled up to 18,000 inspections for the state of Florida for the My Safe Florida Home. And currently we're doing 400 assignments for Florida Elevate. We address the scale, duration, and complexity by treating each home as an individual project. We have someone on staff, Lindsay Deloy. She handles the contract administration for these various contracts to make sure that we're using the proper tools for each project. What systems or workflows support consistency over continuity for multiple years? We have the same staff we've been using on all of these grant programs going back to 2019. We have the same workflows in place. We were very successful with the city of Pembroke Pines for SHIP, SHIP, which is a CDBG program. We would use those workflows and going back about 7 years ago, so we would have that consistency. We maintain performance during surge conditions or high volume periods by having ample staff that's knowledgeable in these projects. We have redundancy on staff. We have a team of 12 inspectors, 8 of which are HUD or FHA certified. So we have tools in place to have a set amount of procedures to be followed during these surge pieces, because we can't predict when the flow is going to be. How are architectural services delivered within Beryl's program? That's why we brought Lee to the meeting. We have an architect on this team. He's here to answer questions in the second half. Ultimately, though, Beryl retains the authority for scope, schedule, and compliance. They aren't acting as a parallel authority. They're not creating delays. They are underneath us. Normally, the architect will run the engineer. In this case, since we are with program compliance, we have the government experience. The architect's going to be under us. So all of that happens behind the scenes. The architect makes recommendations for scope, schedule, and compliance, but ultimately Beryl will be the one to make the decision, and the architectural services will be handled by Lee and his team. How does our experience under Elevate Florida align with HUD monitoring? It's easy. I mean, the Elevate Florida is a pre, mid, and post-level inspection that happens. It's all documented. A lot of documentation. There's a report that we fill out that's standardized. There's photographs that are taken that gets given to the county in this instance or the state. How does My Safe Florida Home demonstrate execution at scale? We did 18,000 inspections. Of those, 2% were re-inspected for QA/QC. We were very successful on that program, and I doubt any of the other programs we ever will be involved with will get as high as 18,000 inspections. So we've proven scale. And then all of those elements of these programs, especially SHIP, which is directly related to CDBG, is transferable to this. You're getting with Beryl an engineering team that's used to looking at damaged homes from flood and hurricane, that has proven itself at the state level for execution of grant programs. How do you coordinate with the CMR and county to avoid conflicts during the, and I can't read that because it's being blocked, in the field? Usually the county will have a point of contact for us to work with for each file. We coordinate directly with them. We keep them updated. They're the recipient of all of our reports. That helps avoid conflict. We find education and communication generally is what is needed to reduce conflict. The more educated people are, the more communication that's out there. That's what we're there for. We're there for communication and education to make sure that there's compliance. Final authority of design and tech, construction sequencing, inspection findings. Ultimately, the final authority is going to be the county. We are the eyes and ears of the counties. We are like the owner's rep in an instance for the county, but ultimately the final authority rests with the county. Our inspection findings, design and tech, construction sequencing, we work with the contractor. We work to get all of that in its best format for the county's approval. When reporting and communicating, does the county receive and maintain visibility and control? Yes, the county has ultimate control. And we will do rework, we'll take additional photographs, we will do additional site visits at the county's discretion to make sure that they have the control and that they ultimately have the documentation so they can get the reimbursement. How do you perform inspections and repairs in occupied homes while minimizing disruption? It's what we do all day, every day. We notify the homeowner, we tell them we're coming, we make sure that there's someone over 18 years old to let us in. We perform an interview with the homeowner when we're there to find out what they would like to see. It's all about, like I said, communication, education. We have systems and programs in place. We do email, we do text, we do phone call. We do all three of those for inspections. So there's multiple avenues of communication in both directions. And to minimize disruptions, we follow the handbooks, InterNACHI, NACHI standard operating procedures, HUD Handbook 4000.1, IICRC S500 guidelines. We follow these guidelines to do non-invasive inspections of occupied people's homes to minimize disruptions. How do we reduce inspection fatigue, repeat visit and resident confusion? That is all about education and communication. I've been saying that as a recurring theme for these questions, but ultimately the more educated these homeowners are in the process, the more information they have access to, that helps reduce the fatigue, the repeat visits and the confusion. And we will answer the questions, we will answer the emails in their preferred format of communication. Some people prefer text, some email, some phone call. We use their preferred form of communication to reduce the confusion and fatigue. And then balance life safety requirements with real resident concerns or conditions. I mean, ultimately, the home has to be safe. It has to meet the minimum safety requirements. We will explain that to the homeowners. Stairwells, handicap ramps, making sure that there is a fan or a window in each of the bathrooms, making sure the windows can open. These are some of the standard life safety requirements, making sure electrical outlets are not exposed, the plumbing works and it's not leaking. These are all things we walk the homeowner through to make sure that they are getting their life safety requirements, because ultimately they have to meet the life safety requirements of the minimum property standards. Who serves as the resident's primary point of contact throughout the program? For us, it'll be a combination of Lindsay Deloy and myself. Lindsay will be the spokesperson for Beryl to the residents and the homeowners, and she interacts with the contractors. That's what she does on these state programs. I became the primary point of contact, though, ultimately, if there is any complaints, escalations, and I step in when needed. But Lindsay Deloy really is the primary point of contact for all of these programs that she had going all the way back to 2019. Residents receive clear, consistent information about next steps and schedules. Like I said, it's text, it's email, it's phone call. We have scripts, we stick to the scripts. They have a consistent point of contact, and they have the clear communication through those 3 steps.
Thank you, Leo. We're gonna stop there and move into the Q&A portion here. We can continue on with this. I will open it up to the committee to ask their first question. Like I said, we'll have 15 minutes for whatever questions you guys would like to ask Beryl.
Well, you mentioned your architect, and we don't have a resume in your proposal for the architect. So do you want to tell us how he's been involved in some of the projects that are in your proposal?
Yeah, I
Lee,
apologize for not putting together a resume for you. But my name's Lee Curtis. I've been in construction since I was 20 years old. I'm a little older than that now. I've been specializing in waterfront design, residential design since the 1990s. My father was an architect and structural engineer. I worked with him his entire life since I was in my 20s. So I've learned architectural and engineering and how they mesh together. I was a home inspector throughout the 2010s, and I actually founded the Tampa Bay chapter of Internachi. But more than anything, I specialize in waterfront design. I have worked on Elevate homes where they raise them up, and the biggest issue typically is how do we get an interior set of stairs, and that's usually by taking what used to be the garage and converting it into living space and putting a hole in it for access to the main home. But I'm a Class A general contractor. My partner Joe Stewart is the registered architect. We work closely together and have been since 2012. So we feel we're perfectly aligned to work with Beryl Engineering on these type of projects.
Thanks for asking that question. What's your average volume in dollars per year, say over the last, you said you've been in business a while, but over the past 10 years?
Over 500,000 a year in volume. We have about 5 or 6 draftsmen typically, but we're in a 3,000 square foot office. So we have a room to grow if necessary. And we have never had any problem getting our work out in a consistent manner.
Thank you.
How much was the CDBG program that you guys oversaw? How much was the funding?
Back when we were doing with the city of Pembroke Pines, the average home renovation price was anywhere between 60 and 80,000. This was in 2019. Construction was cheaper there. If I had to escalate to today's dollars, it'd probably be somewhere between 100 and 120,000 dollars for each house improvement.
And so I'll follow up with that. I heard you say, you did, ship services and, HUD inspectors and some, mobile home elevation as well. And also the safe home inspections. So the safe home inspections, do you primarily, perform those 4-point inspections for the state?
The 4-point
Under
inspection.
Florida Safe Home?
Yeah, for my Florida Safe Home, we didn't do the 4-point inspections. We just did the wind mitigation inspections or the Florida
Okay.
1802 form. We
Okay.
can do 4-point inspections, but that wasn't part of that program.
Okay, so you did the wind mitigation inspections, and you said you did 18,000 of those, correct?
We did 18,000 of those for that program, yes.
And so on an average day, how many wind mitigation inspections could one of your inspectors do?
Well, at the peak of the program, our firm was doing 250 inspections a day. For the wind mitigations, 8 to 10 per inspector per day for the wind mitigation only. Inspections like this, I wouldn't schedule an inspector more than 2 per day.
Okay. Great. And so, and you're working with the Elevate Florida program right now, correct?
That is correct.
And what is your specific role with Elevate Florida?
We have multiple roles. We are doing the wind retrofit inspections, which are their versions of wind mitigation. We are doing their survey work. We are doing
Yes,
their
ma'am.
geotechnical investigations. We are doing their structural evaluations. And then on the construction side, 3 of the 28 contractors have us as their designer. So we're doing all the design services and geotechnical services as the designer on homes we are not the inspector for.
Mm-hmm. And so I'll take it the last one first. So for the design, about how many homes have you designed for those contractors that that you're providing that service for?
We're slotted to do 150 designs. I say slotted because the program has not quite moved into that phase yet.
Okay.
The government shutdown kind of delayed everything by 2 months. So we're expecting in February to start with 150 designs.
And one last question, in terms of scaling, I heard you tell us what you actually did. You said, hey, we went up to doing 18,000 inspections. But I failed to gain some insight on actually how you did it, right? So did you bring in-house employees? How'd you do it?
Basically through Internachi, and you've heard us mention Internachi quite a bit, we have an access to their network of inspectors. So we already have vetted an additional 50 inspectors throughout the state, 20 of which are in the Hillsborough County greater area. We still use them for various work assignments when our volume needs to scale up. So we have independent subcontractors we can tap into, all home inspector licensed, all certified as home inspectors. So licensed and that's in addition to our own staff. On a program like this, we would prefer to use our own staff, but if we needed to tap into other inspectors that also are GCs or other inspectors that have some other kind of license, we have instant access to them. And that's truly the joy of being able to scale. Now that we've been doing these programs since 2019, we already have access to this whole network of scalability.
Okay, and the size of your in-house staff? How many people?
We have 12 inspectors, and then we have additional design team of 13. And then we have access to another design team of 15 that's in Missouri that we use for overflow for design. So we actually have a design staff of about 35 when I take into account our design partner in Missouri we tap into.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Can you elaborate a little bit more about what trades would be required as part of your team? Besides, it seems like you guys have a lot of inspection history. you seem to have a lot of structural engineers. Do you have any other engineers on staff? Because I guess my question comes down to when we start negotiating what your fee is going to be, how do we know that we don't need to bring in other trades?
So our design on the residential side, we cover for one 2-story residential, we'll cover mechanical, electrical, plumbing. We'll cover structural, we'll cover architectural. So all of those we can do in-house. For commercial projects, we normally would have to bring in an MEP sub. That would be through our Missouri partners. They already handle that. So we already have the capabilities already established to handle your commercial projects from MEP. But on 1-2-story residential, I mean, we design 200 to 300 houses a year, just normal flow. So we're very familiar with City of Tampa, Hillsborough County, permitting departments, what they want to see in their design drawings. I also do third-party private provider review. So we're knowledgeable on those fronts and how to put these packets together, the scope packets. So a lot of that's just done in-house. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I can't tell from your org chart. It just says engineer, so I can't tell specifically what they do. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, we have engineers that can design MEP. We have engineers that, like myself, that 1-2-story residential, and then we have others that do steel or commercial design. The only thing we lack in-house would be a threshold inspector, but I don't believe any of the residential houses that this program is going to touch would meet that criteria of 4 stories or more.
Anything else, guys? Any other questions from the group?
Nothing.
Okay, I think we'll go ahead and wrap up then, guys. So we appreciate you hopping on this morning, and please just continue to monitor UNA, and we're meeting today at 3:15 as well if you would like to watch that live.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.